Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. I'm very honored to be here with all of you. This place and these deities hold a very special place in my heart. I came to Mumbai first in September of 1973. And today I was walking around the grounds and I was trying to place where everything was in those years. So I thought I'd try to express as I remember it. If you come in the gate was the entrance was a little bit to this side then. But if you come in, I would say that that our temple was about where Govinda's is now. And it consisted of literally kind of a shack with a metal roof that had one pujari room in the back that was about 3 meters by 3 meters. And then in front of that was the altar, and that was about 2 meters by 3 meters. And there was a very nice singhasan on it for the time. And 3 steps going up, and Sri Radha Rasabihari stood on the top step of that. So there were wooden doors that opened, and then the darshan mandap was this sort of circular or octagonal, platform that the devotees stood on, and then beyond that, I had created a tulsi garden on each side. So when people came up, there was a big tulsi garden on each side. And then if you kept walking straight down a little bit more, and I'm going to say just past here it began, maybe a little past here, there were the residences, 6 buildings of flats going around in a oval. And there were 2 floors and a very nice roof on top of each one. And then in the middle was a common area with a thatched roof, very awful cottage that was the brahmachari quarters. It was full of rats and it was not very nice at all. But the brahmacharis, everyone stayed there. And the women stayed in the very front, in the corner of the property. There was like a half-built stucco kind of building that was 2 floors, and from the second floor you could literally see down into every room. There wasn't that many rooms, but you could see down into every room. And there were no windows, no screens, nothing, no bars, nothing. It was like wide open. And I had the experience that one night I was feeling a little, I was in a mosquito net, and I was feeling a little uncomfortable, a little tight in there, in the area that I was sitting. And when I opened my eyes, a camel had stuck its head into my window and was eating my mosquito net, literally had about 2/3 of it done, So I was like pulled into this mummy-like character because the camel had come. That's something you wouldn't see today. But so, and then in front of that was an open well, and we drank from that well by pulling up a paint can that had leaded paint. It had once had leaded paint in it, and we were drinking out of that. So if you ever wonder why so many devotees my age have serious health problems, that's where it started. But it was very austere. And when Srila Prabhupada had come before then, he used to stay with the Setis over in Juhu or Mr. Kandalwal, because there was no place for him to stay on the land. So, there was just no proper space for him. And then by Krishna's grace, we owned the property finally by Srila Prabhupada's grace, but there were residents living in all of the flats. And so, as you know, you can't just ask them to leave. If they want to stay, they'll stay. And so we finally were able to pay one of the residents in the far building on this side to leave. And it actually was, if any of you were here and saw it as the Sankirtan rooms, that was Prabhupada's quarters. And it actually was a very nice little flat with a nice air going through it and beautiful soapstone, floors and walls. So it was very clean and very airy. And I think Srila Prabhupada was very comfortable there. But for us, the very best thing was that every night he would go up on the roof about 5 or 5:45, somewhere in that area, and anyone from anywhere could come up and sit with him on the roof. There were no prohibitions, no one was restricted, and we would all go up there and sit. And if you've seen those pictures, there's many pictures from that time. Srila Prabhupada was looking so healthy, and he was so jolly, and it was just an amazing time for all of us to be there with him, and to act. For me, it was especially important because I had been in the Dallas temple, and it was a very unfortunate place for me, and so what I felt was that Srila Prabhupada was being presented dogmatically. In other words, he didn't have a personality. He was just, someone who gave instructions and, criticism and this and that, but there was no gray area. It was just black or white. And so we really didn't have a sense of who Srila Prabhupada was as a person. Even as a great devotee, we really didn't have a sense of that. And so I left one night, and within a week I was on a plane to India because I had to see what Srila Prabhupada was like. And, I was very young, 22, 23 years old. And when I saw Srila Prabhupada the first time, it was in Delhi. I had to go get a visa. All of my trepidations, all of my fears were immediately erased because I saw that he was such a vibrant personality. He was all things that represent the qualities of a devotee, for sure. But he had this very beautiful and funny, humorous personality, and he was wonderful with the metaphors. He could always think of things to say that just fit what he was trying to express, but did it in a very humorous way or a very profound way. And so for me, it changed my life in that it affirmed my faith in the process and my faith in Srila Prabhupada. It was very wonderful. So times on the roof with Srila Prabhupada are some of the most precious times to me in my Krishna conscious life. So we were very few devotees there. There was Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Giriraj Swami, Sridhar Swami, he was a brahmachari then, and a young boy who came named Lokanath Das, who became Lokanath Swami. And a couple of others, Bengali boys came to help cook. One was Ishan, one was Tatpar, and then there were 3 or 4 of us at any time, women, girls, and so that was there were people who came at different times and left, but that was pretty much the core group at that time. And so I was given the service of being the pujari for Sri Radha Rasa Bihari, which they were the first deities I ever served. And the first time I went to serve them, I noticed that they had been through, they had been in Mumbai, Seaface Park, they'd been in the Maidan. So by the time I got to them, they were actually quite dirty. They had black on their arms and on their body from people putting blue tack and glue and this and that on them. And so I was concerned about that. What do I do to clean them? So when Srila Prabhupada came, I went to him and I explained the deities are like this. What should I use to clean them? And I was expecting him to say, yes, rose water and, and tilak and sandalwood and like that. Srila Prabhupada looked at me and he said, use Vim. Vim. And I was horrified. I said, Vim? To use Vim on the deities. So I did what he said, and actually they came out beautiful. It was just enough of some to take off the black, and they came out very beautiful. And then I oiled them a little bit, and they were absolutely wonderful. So it was a very special time for me to dress and to bathe and dress the deities every day. And I had one experience that I'll tell you with great embarrassment, but it did happen. One day, Srila Prabhupada had come back from his walk, and I have to tell you, every day he would walk. Just a week or so ago, I actually walked to the beach on the route that Srila Prabhupada would take every day, just up, over, and down. And I was surprised how, even though Juhu has built up so much, it actually looked a lot very similar. There's still greenery, and it's still quite nice. So Srila Prabhupada would walk and then walk down Juhu Beach every day. It was wonderful to see him doing that. And I remember as he walked up the path, going past the temple and up to the road, Srila Prabhupada walked very quickly. It was many times devotees had a hard time keeping up with Srila Prabhupada. But right in front of him, about as far as this camera is from me, my god sister Vishaka used to walk with him with her camera backwards. So he's walking very fast forward, and she's going backwards, taking these wonderful pictures of him as he's walking. I don't know how she did that. I would have definitely found the dirt very quickly, but she was very expert at that. So this one day, Srila Prabhupada had come back from his walk and was waiting for the doors to open for the temple. And I had everything was ready. I was ready to open. The Govindam prayers were ready to be played, but then Srimati Radharani's crown fell off. And so rather than, I had already lit the lamps, the very tall ghee lamps on each side. And so rather than stop anything, I just climbed up the stairs and placed it. But I forgot about the lit ghee lamps, and next thing I smelled some smoke, and when I turned around, my sari was on fire, the back of my sari. And fortunately, it was a cotton sari. I only wore cotton. And so I didn't want to disturb Srila Prabhupada, so I very quietly but quickly got off the altar, went into the pujari room, and I was swinging the burning sari around like this, And by the time it hit the floor, it was just a pile of ashes, But I got a little red, but didn't get burned at all. But I was standing there with no sari on. So, and Srila Prabhupada is waiting for the doors to open. So I'm in the back screaming, please bring me a sari, and my god sister, please bring me a sari. So I'm sure that, it must have annoyed the devotees, because it took 10 minutes for all this to happen. And Srila Prabhupada was standing there and the devotees were chanting. So someone brought a sari and I put it on very quickly, and I went out, and when I opened the doors, a mass of smoke came out. Srila Prabhupada standing right there. All this smoke came out, and Srila Prabhupada didn't say a word. It was like he never mentioned it. He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything about being late, so late or what had happened. And I was just a wreck, from all of this going on. But that was the nature of Srila Prabhupada. And he had this ability to understand in a heart-to-heart way if there was too much pride, or if there was some offense being created in some way. So I think that I may have gotten a little proud of my taking care of the deities and the way that I dressed them, and I was thinking they look very beautiful every day, very nice. Every day, Srila Prabhupada would come, the doors would open, and he wouldn't say a word. He wouldn't say, oh, they look nice or anything. So one day, I was off the altar. There was no one else to bathe and dress the deities. So this Bengali boy, Tatpar, who really had no idea, was the only choice, So he came, and when I was horrified when I saw the deities, Radharani had Krishna's crown on, Krishna had Radharani's dress on. The jewelry was from some other outfit, and they just looked, like a Bengali boy who didn't have a clue, had dressed them. So this one day, I had been dressing them long time, and Srila Prabhupada never said a word. And this one day, when the doors opened, Srila Prabhupada said, "Oh, very nice." So I understood immediately that something was wrong with my character, because he never said that, for me. But that was Srila Prabhupada. He was so individual with each of us, and so wonderful with each of us. And so that time, I was their pujari until I think it was April. We went to Tirupati with Srila Prabhupada. We went to Hyderabad, and then we went to Tirupati, which was an amazing experience. They had given us in Tirupati these beautiful cottages that were on the top of the mountain, and then they had terraced down these beautiful gardens and put pathways there. And so and then Srila Prabhupada was with, I think, the chief minister or one of the ministers of Andhra Pradesh, who came with a briefcase full of money to, give every time we took darshan or every time we were near. And literally, I'm sure you all know how popular this temple is. They would, when Srila Prabhupada came to take darshan, they would clear out the whole temple and bring us in. We actually got to see a midnight abhishek of the deities, which was amazing. And also, one time they took us back and let us see all the jewelry, which was amazing. Srila Prabhupada would look at his gloves that he wears, beautiful gloves. He said, and they would tell him, these diamond gloves were 1 lakh of rupees, which was a fortune back then. I mean, just so much. And then the deity was just so wealthy. And so we were just totally immersed in feeling so fortunate that we got the opportunity to be there with Srila Prabhupada. And I remember on one specific occasion, I was sitting with Vishaka Devi we had our women's cottage, and all of a sudden, because the hill went down like this, we saw Srila Prabhupada walking with Satrupa Maharaj on these paths. And she grabbed her camera, and I just ran after them, and we walked with Srila Prabhupada until he came to a gazebo. And then he had his cane with him, and he was pounding his cane like this, and he said, they lost everything. He said, they lost their kingdom, they lost their wife, they lost everything. And we were kind of looking around, wondering what he was talking about. And then he looked down, and there was inlaid in the marble floor that chess-like game that the Pandavas played, where they lost everything. So Srila Prabhupada was very animated about that. So that was a wonderful experience. And then we came back, and I think I stayed until May or June. And then I went to Vrindavan. But this Juhu experience and being here and now seeing the deities after all this time, I can say they look exactly the same, which is really amazing, because over the years, the deities change usually, and their faces change, and they're painted, and, just because they're Krishna and Radharani, they change. But when I look at them, I see that they look very much the same as they did all those years ago. and so nicely worshipped now in this opulent place. It's just very heartwarming to see after we had worshipped them in that very humble situation. It's just, like miraculous that we even got this place, because as you probably all know, the previous owner had sold the land to a few people, and so ultimately it was Srila Prabhupada who had negotiated brilliantly, and ultimately we got the land. So yes, that's my recollection of Juhu in the early days when I was here. Every day, the devotee, the men, would take the jeep and go into Mumbai to make life members, and they were very serious about it. And the best life member maker was Giriraj Swami, His Holiness Giriraj Swami, because it's difficult to describe. He was exceptionally humble, and he didn't care about his appearance at all. And so he would wear, I remember it well, a sweater that was full of moth holes, holes all over it, because that was probably the only sweater that he had. And he got boils on his head, and so he didn't want to go unshaven. So he would shave back to about here, and then the rest of his hair would just kind of be up like this. So it looked, real unique is all I can say. And but he would go out every day, and he would go to these big industrialists, their factories, their homes, and he would sit in the waiting room. They would say, "Oh yeah, he has meetings all day," and he would just sit there humbly and wait for the 5 minutes in between the meetings that he could talk. And we heard so many stories later that so many life members became life members because they were charmed by his humility and the way that he presented, what life membership is and what the society was doing. So we're very fortunate that, that initial thrust of these sincere devotees going out every day and living in absolutely primitive conditions, that they did so much to actually create this. It would not have happened were it not for them and their sincerity and their devotional service. So I'm indebted to them, and I feel, whenever I see this, I feel that Srila Prabhupada would be so pleased that it's become what it has become. And really it's because of the efforts of these early devotees who came and gave so much of themselves, in difficult situations. So I thought that I would just let you ask questions, anything you want to know that I can share with you on anything, rather than just go on about one or another aspect of being here. So if you have any questions or anything you would like to know, please ask, speak up.
Hare Krishna. First of all, I'd like to thank the management and Parijat Mata and Mataji over here for inviting you to our congregation. We'll say 3 times Haribol, 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 and a small introduction of Mataji, which has been sent. Dinatarini Mataji is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada who joined in US in late 60s. She came to India in early 70s and was the first pujari to serve Sri Sri Radharas Bihari. She would also shop for the deities and Srila Prabhupada. She served Srila Prabhupada along with Yamuna Mataji in the early 70s. She stayed and served with Yamuna Mataji for more than 3 decades. And after Yamuna Mataji left this world, she completed her memories. We are very grateful she is visiting ISKCONJuhu and has kindly contested to share the pastimes and the story related to Srila Prabhupada, especially at the Hare Krishna line. So we'll welcome her and again say 3 times Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
One correction there, I wasn't the first pujari. They were already installed and being worshipped when I came. So I think there were 2 or 3 before me. I'm not sure who, but somebody was worshiping them very nicely as well. So, question?
Yes, the first question, Mataji. We are the next generation who have everything ready-made. We've got everything ready-made over here. Mm-hmm. And then also there are many complaints. So, the time when you came over here, Mataji, you were saying that a lot of austerities was there as a foreigner figure in this land. Mm-hmm. So what was that which was inspiring you and pushing you to do that austerities over here?
Very simply, Srila Prabhupada. All the devotees in the early years, whether they were able to stay, I just saw tremendous sincerity in the hearts of the devotees who came to serve, because especially here at Hare Krishna land, when I say it was austere, many of us suffered lifelong health issues because of it, because of the austerities. There was no clean water, so we would turn a tap on somewhere and worms would come out, and there was, there was a funny story that Sridhar Maharaj, we would have chura every morning as the breakfast, chura, rice chura. And we're sitting all around there. Every day we're eating the same chura. And one devotee, another Bengali, Ishan, was cooking for us. And this one morning, Sridhar Brahmachari said, "Hey, Ishan, my cumin seeds have legs." And we hadn't noticed it before, but, I thought it was very well seasoned, because there were lots of cumin seeds. And Ishan said, "I didn't put any cumin seeds in." So, it was very austere. It was, the bathing facilities were austere. I actually remember one time seeing a rat fall from the thatched roof down Giriraj Swami's, the back of his sweater one time. That would have got me on the next train out for sure. I don't like rats. But at any rate, I would say it was the sincerity that everyone wanted to please Srila Prabhupada and see him smile and see him be approving of the effort of the devotees. And so there was never any slackening of that. Everyone was, 100% engaged. The men would pile into that jeep and they'd be gone all day. And of course, we didn't have any eating facilities, and they were gone anyway. So Srila Prabhupada gave everyone permission that they could eat at this one pure veg restaurant on Marine Drive at that time. I think that restaurant's still there, as a matter of fact, Amel's. And so we would meet after the end of the day at Amel's and then come back at night. And this was like every day they were going out, and Prabhupada wanted a certain amount of life members made, so every day there was a quota, and they were trying so hard to make that quota. And, I just, when I look back on those times, I just feel tremendous gratitude to all of the devotees who came to India in those early years, because whether you were here in Bombay, whether you were in Vrindavan, in Delhi, or in Mayapur, you were undergoing severe austerities. It was just so hard. And we were Westerners. Here, Srila Prabhupada used to chastise the devotees always that you you can't do anything, because we didn't, the Western devotees, and we have to remember that, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Giriraj Maharaj, they're like 24 years old at that time, maybe 25 at the most. And they didn't have any experience of negotiating in India with Indian people who were very skilled at it, So mistakes were made, and Srila Prabhupada would chastise them, and then he would he would do the negotiating himself, then he would teach them in that way by negotiating and showing them how to do it. But he was very particular. I actually saw a picture a photo that I had not remembered ever seeing in Govardhan Eco Village above on the wall at Radhanath Swami's flat there. And it's a picture of Srila Prabhupada sitting in the airport with one leg crossed over the other. And by his side is his famous white briefcase that he carried that briefcase had everything in it, all of his banking information, all of the, everything, all the trusts, the land, everything was in that. So he kept that with him all the time. And I remember one time Tamal Krishna Maharaj had locked it in the Almirah in his rooms over here. And Srila Prabhupada asked for it one time, go get the case out of the Almirah. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj couldn't find the key to open the Almirah. So when he told Srila Prabhupada about it, Srila Prabhupada said, call all the GBC here now. From all over the world. Call the GBC here. He was so concerned about that, just trying to give that message, of how important it was to keep his papers and his briefcase and, not lose the key to the Almirah. So ultimately, Tamal Krishna Maharaj found the key, but it just showed that Srila Prabhupada saw everything was Krishna's. And every penny that was spent, every penny that was mismanaged, he felt very deeply. It was something that he didn't want any waste there, that every penny that we're getting, I'm going to use in Krishna's service and keep accounts, incredibly careful accounts. I even have in my care some pages from when the devotees cleaned out his rooms at Radha Damodar, and one paper is so amazing. He puts 2 annas milk, and then he puts, whatever he spends for whatever rice, whatever he has, and then he totals it up, and then everything that's left he's putting towards his book publishing for the volumes of Bhagavad Gita and his Back to Godhead magazine in New Delhi. And so he was extremely careful, and he wanted us to be that way too. Just see everything as belonging to Krishna, and be very careful and prudent with any monies that you're given to spend for Krishna like that. Yeah.
As this movement is going to go for 10,000 years, it is predicted.
Mm-hmm.
You were with Srila Prabhupada. We are in the 2nd generation, and now the 3rd generation is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And as the Krishna consciousness movement, ISKCON is expanding. And with the expansion, new challenges are coming,
Yeah.
new problems are coming, and new things are coming.
Mm-hmm.
So the austerities that you faced, and now you are seeing,
Mm-hmm.
are you happy with what you did after seeing what is going on now? The things are.
I don't ever look at it that way. What I am is grateful. I'm near the end of my life, and I feel so grateful that Srila Prabhupada accepted me, that I've been able to try to serve in this movement and try to internalize and make advancement in Krishna consciousness. I just recognize every day that all of us who have the great opportunity to be in this Krishna consciousness movement should always remind ourselves every day of our great fortune, more than anyone else. And whatever challenges inevitably have to be faced, they should be seen in light of the gratitude that we should feel for the blessings that we've been given, the intense blessings that we've been given in our Krishna consciousness. And I think that sometimes we lose sight of that, because sometimes the challenges, the obstacles can become so great that we forget more or less the joys and the incredible blessings that we've been given to even be here, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, and now the mercy of the other Vaishnavas who have taken the position of being gurus now. So, the more we can try to find within that sense of gratitude, that sense of privilege, that we have somehow found this amazing, wonderful process, then I think it mitigates the impact of the challenges that we face. And so that's an internal process, and it's an individual process that we each have to cultivate, within our hearts. How can I feel gratitude? How can I feel my great fortune in this Krishna consciousness movement? Because as long as we feel that, the faith will remain strong, and our service attitude will remain strong. But we always have to have patience, as well, because challenges will inevitably come. I'll tell my early story of that. I've always had difficulty with patience. I'm not a patient person. Everyone who knows me knows that. But I've tried over time. And when I joined the Krishna consciousness movement, I first tried to join in summer of 1970. I was 20 years old, just out of college. And I had, through circumstances, I had gone to a music festival, and some devotees from New Vrindavan were there. And by their grace, they gave me, I helped them make Simply Wonderfuls for a few hours, and then they gave me a little blue Bhagavad Gita. And when I read that Bhagavad Gita, all my questions I'd been asking for ages were answered. Who am I? Why am I here? Why am I suffering? What's the purpose in life? All those questions are beautifully answered there. So I saw the Tadvadi Pranipatena verse and Srila Prabhupada's picture, and I decided this is my spiritual master. So I'm going to go and join the Hare Krishna movement. So all I had was the address on the book, which was in New York. It wasn't 26 2nd Avenue. They'd moved up the street, so I think it was 62 or 65, something like that, 2nd Avenue. So I went up there. I was living in Florida, and I went up there, and I remember so well, me being so young, knocking on the door of the temple, and one person opened the temple, and I said, "Excuse me, but I'm looking for a bona fide spiritual master." Like I was looking for a vacuum cleaner or something, something like that. And the brahmachari looked at me and he said, "Yeah, we've got one. Come on in." So that was my first experience. But I found New York horrifying. New York City was it was too much for me. There was rats in our Brahmacharini quarters, which was a basement in the Bowery, and it was just overwhelming. So I left after 2 days, and I fortunately knew someone in New York, so I went to work for 3 months, and then I said, I'm going to try again. I'm going to join in Columbus. So I went to Columbus, and mind you, in those days, every time you went to a temple, the first thing they did was ask for your money, So I didn't have any money, whenever I did decide if I was going to leave, I didn't have any money. So I go to Columbus and knock on the door, and this woman answers, and she's crying profuse tears, not happy tears either. And she said, "Well, you can come in, but Srila Prabhupada has taken the deities off the altar, and all the devotees are in jail." And I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting, because I'm thinking, like Prabhupada said, chanting, dancing, be happy, and all this. And I had not found that. It was the opposite. You talk about challenges. It was definitely the opposite. So I think I lasted a week there before I left. Left again, got a job in Columbus. Then I went to Denver, and I lasted 2 weeks there, but it was all just overwhelming to me. And as I said, I'm not very patient. So I went back to where I live in Florida, and I wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada. And I said, what is the situation with someone like me who likes the chanting of the holy name, and I like the service to Krishna, but I find living with devotees very difficult, like that. And so I sent the letter to the New York address, because that was the only one I had. And very kindly, the devotees sent the letter on to Srila Prabhupada in India. And it took 3 months to get a reply, but I got a reply, a little blue air letter, handwritten by Srila Prabhupada. And he said, in order to be successful in Krishna consciousness, 3 things are necessary. He said, first you must have enthusiasm, and then you must be determined, and finally you must have patience. And he said, if any one of these 3 things are lacking, you will find the process very difficult too. And then he honed in on my problem, and he said, so please try to learn this patience, like that. I always have kept that with me, in my heart, really trying to practice patience, but it's very difficult. And especially if you're in a challenging situation, if obstacles come your way, you want to get out of them. You want to do whatever you can do to relieve whatever that challenge or obstacle is. But what I would encourage all of you is that despite whatever challenges may be there, if you look back on the sacrifices that all the devotees who came to India made, and you can see so many who are still with us are suffering very severe health problems. Jayapataka Swami. I mean, there's just so many that definitely occurred during those times, and then ultimately built up over time. And if you think about their sacrifices and the service that they rendered in extremely difficult circumstances, then maybe your service in the midst of all of this opulence and opportunity will not seem so challenging, like that.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice. Yes.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Dandavat pranam to you. Mataji, if you don't mind, I would like to know about your childhood, or how you entered Krishna consciousness, not just what you read from the Gita. And did your family support and that entire journey of you leaving your life behind? And, was it easy or was it challenging?
Mhm.
And also another question about the cultural shock, as in the food is so different than what you've eaten and
Yeah.
everything else. So I would like to know about that, if you don't mind.
Okay. My childhood was very difficult, very traumatic, a lot of abuse, no father, a mother who had mental illness and didn't really care for myself or my brother. I used to say we were raised by wolves because she was never around. She was very much involved in her own issues. So as far as joining Krishna consciousness, she couldn't have cared less. She was, she couldn't wait to get rid of me, in some way or another. She got a little better later on in life, but yes, I came from a position of deep suffering, and that was why the Bhagavad Gita spoke to me so much, because I was always asking, why am I suffering so much? So in order to keep my brother and I quiet, we would be sat in front of a television set from the time we were very young and watch whatever. And I would watch all these sitcoms that showed the happy mother, the happy father, the lovely family. The wife is dressed beautifully when the husband comes home from work. Of course, she doesn't work. The children are beautifully dressed and ready to sit down to a wonderful dinner. And I remember looking at them, everybody's happy, and I remember looking and saying, what's wrong with this picture, I'm sitting in this filthy house and, in this horrible situation and so much abuse and so much neglect, and is this what the world is really like? But of course, as we all know, there are challenges in every household. A dear god sister friend who grew up literally 150 miles away from me in the same state and the polar opposite of my life. She grew up in the lap of luxury, extremely wealthy family, the only daughter, completely given everything that she ever wanted, so much love from extended family. I also didn't have an extended family that, was there. So my friend, she came to Krishna consciousness for her reasons, so I came out of, this intense suffering and wanting to know, why am I suffering so much? And she came for her own reasons. She didn't need to. I mean, she had everything materially, but she wanted something higher. She wanted spiritual life and rejected all that. So we each come for different reasons, that's the beauty of the process, is that whatever brings us, is our cross to bear, so to speak. It's what we've come from. And as long as that sincerity is there, any sincerity is there, it really doesn't matter what our situation was that we ultimately came from. So what was the other part of your question?
Adjusting to the food and everything as like a cultural.
I don't even remember that, quite frankly. We never, we were so busy running, in those early days. We were up at 3:00 and we served, we were just running until, 10, 11 at night. And we ate whatever was there, especially in India, I mean, we were, limited in what we could take. So that I remember, I was Srila Prabhupada's shopper when he was here. So I would literally go on the trains from Santa Cruz into Crawford Market, and I would see what shops had the most servants, waiting in line, the cooked servants of, wealthy households. And I would know that they had the best, of whatever it was that I was looking for. So Srila Prabhupada loved chura, I think you call it. We called it chidwa, but chura. He loved of all varieties. So I found this one dealer who only did churas, and they were wonderful. So many different kinds of chura, So I would get Srila Prabhupada's chura, and one day we were in the kitchen, and Palika Devi was cooking for Srila Prabhupada, and brought in his breakfast with the chura. And after the breakfast was over, Srila Prabhupada said, I have indigestion from this chura. I can't, So the next morning, we didn't put the chura on the plate. And as soon as the plate was set down before Srila Prabhupada, he said, where is the chura? That. And so Satsrupa Maharaj said, well, Srila Prabhupada, you said this chura was very bad for you, is causing indigestion. Srila Prabhupada said, yes. He said, this chura is killing me, but I like it so much I can't help myself. Bring the chura, like that, So those were very sweet times, too, of shopping for Srila Prabhupada. But at least in my own case, I don't remember there ever being any difficulty adjusting to the diet here. It was very simple for me.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for sharing such wonderful memories of Srila Prabhupada. My question is, in the initial days, Srila Prabhupada himself used to set an example and teach the Vedic culture to all his disciples. So can you share some memories from back then, how by example he used to lead such kind of, etiquettes in the Vaishnava culture?
One of the things, if you watch the all of the film that's out there, Srila Prabhupada, what was one of the things that was so extraordinary about him is that every movement that he made was like a dance. You know, he was so graceful, very aristocratic and so graceful that even something like scratching or, putting tilak on or whatever, it looked like it was choreographed. It was so beautiful to watch. There was never any wasted movement in Srila Prabhupada. He was everything was very considered, very graceful, very aristocratic, very astonishing actually for all of us, who watched him to see. I used to have to go back whenever he would give a talk. If I was in the audience, I would have to go back and listen to what he said again, because I was so mesmerized by watching him and his movements that sometimes I'd lose the train of what he was saying, and I'd have to go back and listen to it again. But these times on the roof here in Mumbai were so sweet because he interacted with each devotee, and even residents who lived here would come, and he interacted beautifully with them. And I can remember there was one devotee, I won't give his name, but he was very vocal, and so whenever he was wealthy. He was I believe he was an American boy. He was very wealthy, and every time he would come into Srila Prabhupada's presence, he'd throw himself down on the ground, and no matter who Srila Prabhupada was speaking to, if he was giving a class, whatever he was doing, he'd start, Nama Om Vishnu, as loud as he could, and Srila Prabhupada would have to stop whatever he was speaking or saying and wait until this devotee finished, offering his obeisances. So this one time on the roof, he got up, and Srila Prabhupada was in a very jolly mood. He had already spoken some very sweet and funny things to devotees, and so this devotee got up from offering obeisances, and I remember him folding his hands and saying, Srila Prabhupada, I want your mercy so much. What do I have to do to get your mercy? Like that. And Srila Prabhupada, I remember, he was picking his teeth, and he had his legs over one of the bolsters, and he was sitting like this with the leg over the bolster, and he just looked at him, sort of like this, and he said, you want my mercy? And the devotee said, oh yes, Srila Prabhupada, I want your mercy so much. And then Srila Prabhupada said, then give me all your money. And like that, And he was stunned because he was very attached to his money, and he was kind of thrown back. And then Srila Prabhupada looked at him and he said, the more money you give me, the more mercy I'll give you. Like that. So, yes, so that's just an indicator of what Srila Prabhupada was like during those times. So many wonderful stories. He would speak with Brahmananda Prabhu about the early days in New York, and he would talk about the places they lived, the places they served, what they did. And he said, yes, he said, in the early days in New York, he said, I would just get in a bus, didn't know where it was going, and just go until the end of it, and then I'd take another bus and go until the end of it. And then he thought for a minute, and he said, I didn't have anything else to do, like that. So very, very sweet exchanges, wonderful exchanges. And I would encourage you to watch as much of those films of Srila Prabhupada as you can, because it will really connect you with Srila Prabhupada. It's always stated that the grandfather spiritual master is more merciful than the father spiritual master. And so if you connect with Srila Prabhupada, he becomes more real to you. And that connection can be made through your prayer and your sincere service and everything that you normally do anyway, but just to bring him closer to the heart. In the same way I do with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I just had the most amazing opportunity to go to the places of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Calcutta, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And if you ever in Calcutta, please go to the Bhakti Vinod Asan on Ultadanga Road, which was the first temple, the first facility that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati preached in. It was in this place that Srila Prabhupada was dragged by his friend to the rooftop to meet Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and that was the first time he gave him the instruction to preach in the English language. And you can go up on that roof. You can touch the walls of the stairs leading up, which I did immensely. Touch the stairs. You can sit on the places that they've restored it so beautifully. You know, it was pretty much a wreck of itself. And the devotees have beautifully restored it. And it's just a very special experience to go there. And that also connects you more with the disciplic succession, with our line of disciplic succession, how fortunate we are to be in this line that we are. So yes, it was so memorable for me to be able to go there and see that. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dhanavad Pranam. Thank you so much for sharing such wonderful memories of Srila Prabhupada. So I was wondering, so as a newcomer or as a sadhaka, sometimes first time when we come and take darshan of the deities, so we can't actually see them. We see them as marble or stone. Right. It is only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada we get to know that they are not marble and stone. Yes. They are actually there.
Yes.
So I was just wondering, as a pujari who served Shri Radha Raspberry, was there any specific pastime or personal experience where you felt the reciprocation of the deities, which made you believe that, okay, they are not marble and stone, but they are actually there? Any specific pastime is there?
I think for all of us, through service, I was telling one devotee today that Srila Prabhupada said one time that we should go before the deity and tell him about our day. We should go every night before the deity and tell him about our day. And I always took that not to mean that, you know, I cooked lunch at this time or I went to the store at this time, but actually to speak, you know, I think I could have been nicer to this devotee. I think I may have committed an offense in this way. I think I wasn't focusing on my rounds, you know, the important things, the things that, you know, are very meaningful and important to our devotional lives. So I have been worshiping my deity, Sri Radha Banabihari, since 1975, however many years that is, a long time. And I've had many instances of exchanges with them. But in the importance of deity worship, I've told this story before in Calcutta and in other places, is about Jamuna and Srila Prabhupada training her and teaching her in deity worship. And it happened, as I said, I came to India in September of 1973. And at that time, you could come into India for 21 days without a visa. So, you know, me not being very young, not knowing anything, after, 18, 19 days, I had to go to Nepal and get a visa. So on the way, I stopped in Delhi, New Delhi, and Srila Prabhupada was there. And the devotees had just moved into a new temple. They had Radha Parthasarati then. And they moved into this new temple. And Srila Prabhupada was, things were still chaotic in the temple. And Srila Prabhupada was sitting in the temple room, and the devotees were chanting a very loud kirtan, devotees who were there. So all of a sudden, Yamuna came in the room, and Srila Prabhupada immediately stopped the kirtan, immediately stopped it. And he looked at Yamuna and he said, how could you have let this happen? And he said it twice. How could you have let this happen? I have trained you, he said. And Yamuna was trying to defend herself because she didn't even live in that temple. They were in Vrindavan, and she was just passing through, doing some service. And, she had nothing to do with the management or the deities or anything of that temple. But Srila Prabhupada, instead of speaking to the pujari there, he honed in on her and said, how could you have let this happen? I have trained you. And he said that again, I have trained you. And she had no idea what he was speaking about at that time. And then he looked to the deities, and Radha Partha Sarathi were wearing an old garland, a garland that was not fresh. And so Srila Prabhupada looked at the deities and he pointed at them and he said, you may think, here is a stone statue. Let me offer this rubbish garland. I'll never forget, he was so angry. Let me offer this rubbish garland. And he said, and Krishna won't mind, but he will remain a stone statue to you forever. So what Yamuna got from that is that Srila Prabhupada expected that if he trained anyone in a particular service very expertly, like he did with her in cooking and in deity worship and in cleanliness particularly, that he expected that she would disseminate that she would teach others. And so when he saw the deities, even though she hadn't been there, he expected that she would have taught them that you never leave an old garland on the deities like that. So in all these areas, he was so particular about that. Even in Vrindavan, she would clean his rooms every day. And throughout her life, she had all these systems for cleaning. She was immensely particular in cleaning and cooking and all of these things. So she would clean Srila Prabhupada's rooms in Vrindavan every day very nicely. And one day she came in, Srila Prabhupada was in there, and he said, you have not cleaned my room today? And Yamuna said, yes, Srila Prabhupada, I cleaned your room today. And Srila Prabhupada just very, very quietly went over to his desk where he had his transcriber, and part of what was on his desk was a little staple gun, with staples. He picked up the staple gun, he opened it up, he took his pinky finger, ran it down the inside of the staple gun and said, dirt, like that. Dirt, So you can just imagine, the standard, that he expected. He didn't do that with everyone, but he expected her to have the highest standard. And also with cooking, he said, if you don't teach others what I have taught you, what you've learned, you'll become envious. So that was always Srila Prabhupada's standard, because he couldn't teach everyone, but he could teach some few devotees who were very receptive and very much wonderful servants. And then he expected that to be given out to everyone, whether it was book distribution, preaching, library services, cooking, anything, deity worship, anything like that. So, yeah, it was amazing. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for this wonderful session. My question to you, how was the early life after 14th November 1977?
Could you repeat that, please?
How the early days after 14th November 1977?
After Prabhupada left, what does he want to, what is that?
I mean,
How
did he hold Prabhupada?
Oh, yes. Well, I think for me, I had a sense that Srila Prabhupada was going to leave about 2 years before, and we began preparing then. So I think in one sense, the grieving process never really goes away. We're always feeling separation, but at the same time feeling his presence, if that makes any sense. Another wonderful story that I tell often that I found very profound. Yamuna wrote, I wrote about it in her memoir, her biography, and it happened at the Magh Mela. I guess that was 1971 or around there. And they were at the Magh Mela, and Yamuna had a habit of always sitting right in front of Srila Prabhupada, and she would write, she would, whatever he would say, she would write down. And so she was sitting in there this one day, and one devotee, a man, came up and said, "Do you see where all the women are sitting?" And she kind of turned around and she said, "Yes, you have to sit in the back, So the next day, Yamuna was always obedient in that way, and so she sat in the back. And Srila Prabhupada was speaking for the first time. These devotees heard the life and story of Ajamil. And so Srila Prabhupada came up to Yamuna after the program, after that particular class, and he said, "You do not like to hear what I'm speaking." Questioning her because she was not in front of him. And she began crying immediately. And she said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I like it so much. This is so wonderful. I like so much." And so he said, "Why aren't you sitting, in the front?" And she said, "Well, so-and-so told me the women should sit in the back." And Srila Prabhupada said, "Well, that is the etiquette here," he said. And they were walking, and Srila Prabhupada, Yamuna said, she was feeling separation from him just from that time, just from not being able to sit right next to him because she had so much of his personal association. And she said, "Srila Prabhupada, how much association did you have with your spiritual master?" Srila Prabhupada became very animated, and he said, "I have not been apart from him, not for 1 second. Very, very adamant. I have not been apart from him, not for 1 second. And then she said, "But how much actual association did you have?" And he said, "Only 5 or 6 times. He said, "But we walked and talked so many things during that time." So I think beginning, before Srila Prabhupada left, some of us began internalizing our relationship with Srila Prabhupada and internalizing, with the understanding that he wouldn't be with us forever. And so to keep that strong connection with him, we had to feel just like Srila Prabhupada. I'd never been apart, not for 1 second, like that. So that's something we all have to cultivate because we're all ultimately in that situation in some form or another. Like that.
Thank you, Mataji.
If not, I offer my humble obeisances, and I thank you all for coming. It's very wonderful to spend a little time with you and talk about Srila Prabhupada. Very much appreciate it. Thank you for it. All glories. Hari Hari Bol.
It's a very, very nice option that such a great devotee comes in the class, and it is always said, "Sadhu Sang, love matre Sadhu Sang, sarva siddhi ho." And I hope that some inspiration, utsaha, nishchaya, dhairya. Mataji told na, the patience, utsaha, the 3 words. I think so it is not for Mataji, it is for all of us. The 3 things that Prabhupada told, we should have always patience. Utsaha, nishchaya. This I think is the take that we should take from today's class. And we're very, very fortunate that we have lineage of all the past parampara. And through Mataji, we can see how dedication they had and the love they had for Srila Prabhupada. and that's why they survived all the things. So that, if we can put one little what they have love for Srila Prabhupada and the movement, I think so we will be successful in our life also. So we'll say 3 times Hari Bol for Mataji. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And one time we'll say Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Kali Mata ki jai. Somebody has to ask some questions, we can hopefully also go and ask. So we can wind up the class and we can have prasad. That's here only. Yeah, please, Arun.
I did want to pet males because more towards males. The Prabhutis are given more importance and they are the highlighted. They are highlighted and all the Prabhutis who have also having so much are doing so much are not highlighted as much as the males. I find that a little unfair and at that time when it started it was maybe different, but now I know it's always been. I know. So now it's still unacceptable and it's in our current generation.